You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult and finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you, no questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading. You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult and finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you, no questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading. All right. Hello and good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Again, those of you who are tuned in Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and I have just been able, no, I haven't yet. I haven't been added on LinkedIn yet, but
yeah, I'm applying for that. Hopefully, I get approved for that. But yeah, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook. For those of you watching there, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you have questions, go to our Discord community. I believe the banner is scrolling down there, and you can just punch that in your URL and ask your questions. So we do this every Thursday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever comes first. If I finish the questions first, then I stop. I have to apologize last week because I wasn't able to say that I was going out of town. So I actually wasn't able to have any signal. Me and my family, we went camping and walang signal done. There's no phone signal at all. So I wasn't able to check. And there were some of you who were concerned for me. Thank you so much for the concern. Nag-aalala na kayo na baka may nangyari sa akin. No? Pero nakalimutan ko lang sabihin sa inyo, I'm so sorry that we're not gonna have a leadership stack last week. So this week we'll continue on, and I have questions last week that I am super excited to answer. And since Patrick is always the first one to ask questions, you have 11 questions for me tonight. I'm going to go back and forth between you and the other people who ask questions as well. So the first question is, how is the first month of 2021 so far? How do you compare it to December? Okay, well, as a businessman in the digital marketing space, 2021 January was actually quite bloody for me. So I wasn't expecting it because there were a lot of people who I have talked with, and they were optimistic about digital marketing this year as a whole. And I'm not saying that's not true, but January was a bloody month. There were a lot of, well, not a lot, but a handful of our clients, key clients then, because they're pretty big, that were just they were just hit hard last year, and budget cuts had to be made, or subsidies were not given to them by principals, so they had to cut contract with us. So that's really painful. And of course, as a business owner and as a business developer in our team, I'm the main business developer. It hurts, and I can't just I can't stress that enough. But early this year, December 31 evening, I had a dream, and in my dream, I believe it came from God. In my dream, there was it's hard to explain, but it happened to me numerous times before that God would reveal things to me through dreams. And this one, I believe, was kind of an encouragement. So I expected actually that the start of the year, or maybe even the first half of the year, would be surprisingly difficult. And that's why I needed that dream. And I wasn't thinking about anything, so the dream was not preempted. But in my dream, I had three dreams. I don't remember the exact details, but in those three dreams, I started with something that's not a lot, and then it multiplied and mutated. Actually, it got a little bit out of hand. That's how those three dreams went. So I'm taking it as a sign from God that things are gonna be fine. That's a good. That's what I'm. That's how I'm taking it. But only God knows what it really means. So, yeah, pretty bloody. How do I compare it to December? December last year was also very slow moving, but we didn't have churned clients. We didn't lose clients. So I think December last year in that way is more likable for me. But really can't complain. I have so much to be thankful for. Second question, many people are starting to go out more now. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Well, if they're going out with, just by themselves, so me and my family, we go out camping. And why we chose to do camping trips is because we bring our own stuff, we cook our own stuff, and it's pretty much just us in the campsite. me and my family. Maybe we have a few friends somewhere along the way or somewhere a little bit far, not really directly in our campsite. So there's still a good safe distance between us and some friends who go camping with us. So that is something that I think is safe. But people who are going out to malls and to a lot of enclosed spaces where a lot of people also gather, I think that's not that safe. So I don't think that's a good thing, generally speaking. I think that the virus in general is still out there, and we still have increasing cases. It's not decreasing. We're not able to eliminate it. We don't have herd immunity yet. We haven't reached that point. So generally, people going out is not a positive thing for me. What Next question? What do you think of Palantir? Have you seen the product demo? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Palantir is a company that I have been able to discover when I read the book Zero to One by Peter Thiel, who is obviously the founder of Palantir and the one who founded Palantir. He is part of the PayPal mafia alongside Elon Musk. So Peter Thiel is actually a very brilliant person and is now an adjunct professor, I think, in a very prestigious university in the US. And when he made Palantir, I think it was inspired by the 9/11 attack somewhat, where he wanted to be able to predict attacks like that, disasters like that ahead of time using data mining and big data. And now that we are really on the race to the first sentient being, which is the age of I think that they're going to be integrating artificial intelligence within Palantir. So it is exciting. That's the word I'm going to be using. I am not going to endorse people here to invest in Palantir. All I can say is I have invested in Palantir, and I do believe that it is going to uh, increase in terms of its value, because that is a very valuable software. If they're going to be able to enhance the features, functions, and data gathering of their software, and if at some point in time they are going to be able to use their entire database between clients, because right now they can't, they're not doing that out of ethical purposes. But if there would be a point in time where maybe a major global event would trigger them using all of that data together, then it's going to be a game changing, a world changing platform. So I'm invested in Palantir, and I'm going to be continuing to invest, but I will only invest money that I'm willing to throw away. And why I use the word throw away is because whether it goes up or down, I'm just keeping it there. That's it. Next question is, how much does an entrepreneur make every month to live an average but comfortable life in the Philippines with two young and growing kids? Um, my salary is actually less than what I was making when I was employed in HP. Right, so all of my quote unquote government benefits follow the salary. But in terms of the house allowance, if you're not that big on spending, like I am, I'm not really that big on spending. Below, yeah, 5 digits is enough every month. 5 digits is enough. Even with, so we have house help here, and Yaya also for taking care of our kids while me and my wife is working. And yeah, 5 digits is enough. You don't need to spend 6 digits every month for your lifestyle. Number five, can you rank this based on importance for a startup and why? Capital, skills, experience, manpower. Ang dami nito ah. Being good at what you do. Importance for a startup. So I'm gonna say that Experience. Capital for me is not that important because I started without capital. The capital is just 1,300 pesos. So I'm going to be putting that last. Skills and being good at what you do is pretty much the same thing for me. So I would put that on top because again, I started a services based business, which is SEO. So skills, being good at what you do, and experience would be on top, and then manpower would be pretty much at the bottom as well. Because I started out as a freelancer, I didn't have any manpower to help me when I was starting SEO hacker, and I didn't have capital. So we don't need manpower, we don't need capital. Skills, experience, and being good at what you do—that's what's important for me. That's what's valuable. Do you think gender is a big thing in managing people? No. What does the good point of having a male or female leader if it matters? I don't think it matters. So I think that gender, um there are really good points. Like, my wife is fantastic when it comes to managing people and leading them by emotions, the heart. She's a very strong empath, and so she can feel and make you feel, and she leads that way. She's very kind with her words. I am I am at the other end of the spectrum. I would say I'm very sharp with my words, very truthful, very honest and frank. I am trying to go back 2 steps to actually be more empathic or empathetic, like my wife. So you cannot be at the extreme. That's what I can say. You cannot be, whether you're male or whether you're female. You cannot be at the extreme. You have to know how to balance it out. Because if you say things really nice but you water down the truth, then they may accept your message, your correction, or your communication, but they're gonna be left confused. But if you're like me, you're frank, you say things sharply, you're very honest, then it may be true what I'm saying, but the people you're trying to communicate to will not accept it. So you cannot be at the extremes. You have to balance it out. Next question is, if you're the youngest or newest person in the team, how can you be a good team player and have a good working relationship with the team? Well, there's a lot in play. First is you have to be humble. Humility plays a huge part. When you're being corrected, especially by people who have a lot more experience than you, accept the correction, learn from it. Second is you have to get along with your peers. Often people are not going to go up or stoop down to have a better relationship with you. Now, it depends on the person, but if you're new, do not expect that to happen for you. You have to be the one to go out of your way and make sure that people see you as someone who's approachable and someone who is good to have a balanced working relationship with. At the end of the day, a team plays to win. If a team is playing to lose, it's really not a team. It's a ragtag group of individuals without a purpose. So if your team is playing to win, then you have to act like a team and know each other as a person, not as a cog in the machine, not as just someone who is great for work, but you don't see each other as individuals. It is super important for you to recognize that there is life outside of work for everyone involved in your organization. Next question: what are the values you are really prioritizing in teaching your kids for them to grow as not spoiled? I tell them about the value of hard work. So when my kids wake up and they go to me or I go to them, I ask them, have you done your chores? And the chores I'm asking my sons to do is to take out the weeds in the garden, pull out the weeds in the garden, because that way they get some morning sun, which is good for them. It's vitamin D, and it's not easy work. I mean, pulling out the weeds in the garden, it's also not that hard. A 4 year old and 6 year old kid can definitely do that. So I do that every day. I ask them every day if they've done their chores, and then I tell them you have to work hard because you see me working hard. I'm here at my computer typing away or having calls and meetings, and I explain that to them. You have to take the time to explain to your children that hard work is a big part of life, and having the discipline to work hard will serve them someday when they're old. And you also have to teach them good character. I tell my kids that if people don't like working with you, then chances are you're going to end up poor and hungry. Because this world that we live in, you have to work with people. So you teach them these things early on, and you have to model it as well. Children will follow you, what they see, and what they hear that you do and say. Teaching them can only go so far, but they really look at what me and my wife are doing. So we have to model to them that we work hard, that we have good character, and how we treat our kids also matter in a huge way. Next question: how do you keep yourself on going to the thing you want to do if you keep on failing and failing? When can you say it's really not for you? Well, if you have failed and you burned your capital, especially if the capital is not yours, you borrowed it, then you really have to give up. But when you fail and the downside or the penalty or the consequence is not big, it's not monetary, then I would say you should keep on trying to improve yourself. So one example would be, I think that I have a lot to improve as the CEO, the chief executive officer of my organization, because I have always um, been challenged in how I handle people. That is, I really dislike micromanaging. So there are people who are great at what they do and they don't need supervision, but then there are also people who are starting out and they do need the supervision. They do need you to micromanage them and they like you micromanaging them. And people like that in my team, unfortunately, I cannot handle them well. So that is something where I keep on failing. And I realize that that is a blind side that used to be a blind side, but now I realize that I am not good there. So there are a lot of ways to handle that. But generally, what I want to do, at least for myself, is to improve in how I handle these kinds of people. So the words I say, my tone of voice, my facial expression, and a host of other things that would basically let other people know that I have the patience to teach them and to pull them through, and I'm willing to guide them and coach them through. So I think that's super important, especially in terms of personal improvement, character improvement. You have to, even if you keep on failing, the downside is almost zero. You don't pay a lot. Hindi mo naman inutang yung pera when you failed. So just keep on trying. We have a question from Charles C. Hey, Charles, how are you doing? Welcome to the Discord channel. Question is: do you think a cybersecurity business is viable? Of course. Of course, especially now. I have a friend, his name is Isaac Sabas. We actually have a podcast session. I forgot if it's 4 parts or 3 parts, but you can check it out on Spotify. Leadership Stack. The Spotify link is right here. Search for Isaac Sabas. And he actually built his cybersecurity business named Pandora. And he was able to sell it. Nakapag-exit siya. The amount, I really don't know how much it was for. But what I do know is it's pretty big. Pretty big. So he's happy with the exit, and the business and the service still exists. That's how viable cybersecurity is. And his business is not even cybersecurity in terms of finance and banking, it's just cybersecurity for websites. So that's how viable it is. I would recommend us if someone would venture there, because there's still a lot of room to play in the cybersecurity business or industry. Second question: how did you make your business survive and thrive 10 years ago when e commerce was not yet a big thing? You would have to be the number one believer of your product or service. SEO just made total sense to me because people search every day. I search every day. And we are becoming a digital world even 10 years ago. It can only get bigger and better, the digital realm and search and smartphones. And so, with that thought in mind, that things are going digital, search is becoming the go to. Sometimes we ask Google questions we're not even ready to ask our friends or our parents or family members. And it just made total sense for me, this industry called SEO. If people would search every day, then being someone who can manipulate search results is extremely powerful. And companies would pay for that. Companies would. They don't realize it yet. They may not know it yet, and they didn't know it yet way back when. But there were some companies who actually knew what they were doing, and they're the ones who partnered up with me. And believe it or not, some of those companies are still my clients today, almost 11 years now. So I would say if you totally believe in what you do, in your product or service, that is one of the most important things to make your business survive and thrive, even if the wave that you have to ride hasn't arrived yet. In fact, if you ask me, the digital marketing wave here in the Philippines hasn't even arrived yet. We're just at the tail end. We're still at the tail end. It's going up, yeah, but we're still at the tail end. There's still so many businesses that are brick and mortar. And after the pandemic, believe me, there's still going to be a lot of businesses that are still going to be brick and mortar. And we have the provincial areas, which are also rich in resources and entrepreneurs and SMEs. And they're also still going to be starting brick and mortar. So we're not even seeing the huge wave when it comes to digital marketing yet, at least here in the Philippines. So there's a huge way to go in entering the field, the industry. It's still super viable, but you have to love it and you have to believe it as much as, or maybe more than I did 10 years ago. We have a question from Pat. Hi, Sean. What's your take? And I think this is like I'm down to the last question. So this is a pretty fast session that we have here. Uh, Pat says, "Hi Sean, what's your take on selling commoditized products online? For example, products that can easily be found in malls and online platforms." Well, Lazada is doing just that in Shopee. And a lot of the people who used to sell those items in malls are actually the ones selling it on the digital platforms like Lazada and Shopee. Usually, those business owners also have their own native website, and that's because if you're selling on Lazada and Shopee, even if you're selling a lot of other competitors are also there. And funnily enough, Lazada and Shopee is super customer centric, so they are actually going to recommend your competitors to your potential clients or your current clients. And that is why a lot of businesses do have their own native platform, a brand that they own or a domain name that they own. And it is smart for them to drive traffic there, just like what I'm doing for one of my clients is Hanabishi. So Hanabishi has their own e-commerce platform, even if they're selling on Lazada. They may be selling more in Lazada. I wouldn't know. I didn't ask them, but they're selling a lot from their website as well. And the people who buy from our website, we're able to capture them. We're not recommending any other brand than Hanabishi in our website, and we capture all that data as well. So, am I promoting them on the Leadership Stack Live? I guess so. They're my client. My loyalty is with them. So if you're gonna buy home appliances, buy Hanabishi. So, um, what's your idea on building a brand around those kinds of products? Well, if it's novel, meaning there's something unique about it. One other appliance brand that I also serve is Fukuda. Fukuda is has a lot of novel items actually, like Bluetooth speakers. It's pretty nifty, and cutting edge, and the price is super good. It's very, very affordable. I personally have their products at my home. If you don't know Fukuda, search Fukuda, and you'll be able to find it. Fukuda-Asia is the name of their website. So they have nifty items, pretty novel for the price range, very affordable and very sturdy, matibay. I've used their products for years and I haven't had any problems with it. So if you're able to give that kind of user experience to your customers, that's going to be building your brand automatically. Branding is very tricky, but you usually start with a story. Brand and identities are built around stories, just like how Nike is usually employing the stories of athletes to build their brand. Wala naman talagang kinalaman si Nike dun sa kwento ng mga athletes nila. Pero, they're advertising the story and that builds their brand. So if you're going to be building a brand, you should have your own story. If you want to know how I did it for SEO Hacker, my story is quite simple. I'm a guy who is an almost kick-out student. I failed 28 units in college, and I started this blog called God in You. Virtually, I was unemployable. No one's going to hire a failure fresh out of college. And I was trying to figure out how to make it rank. I stumbled upon SEO. I was able to make my website rank. And I thought maybe some clients would need SEO. And so that's where it started. I was able to get a few clients rolling in and save that money, roll it in, make it bigger, get more clients, was able to hire my first people, rent out my first office. And that's the story. And you can find the entire story and history and branding in the SEO Hacker website. If you want to do it the way I did it, you're very welcome to do so. Copy the blueprint I wrote, you're very welcome to do so. We have a question from Mark Davis. Follow-up question. Steps that Philippines should take to become competitive like the other countries. This question is very difficult to answer. Very difficult, but very easy at the same time. There's only one real thing that has to change for us to be competitive and to maybe even take over the development of other countries. And that thing is integrity. If our leaders, our government leaders would have integrity, and there's no like kulang yung integrity. There's no such thing. It's either you have integrity or you don't. Because the word integrity comes from the root word integer, which means one or whole. So either you have integrity or you don't. If our government leaders would have integrity, I think that this country would just skyrocket. It would just take off, and man, it would be a very different country. So yeah. And we have a follow-up question from Patrick. I think I wasn't able to answer one question as well. What is one question you wish your subscribers would ask but they don't, but they should? I have no idea. But yeah, I have no idea. I'm open to answering any and every question you have. I've even answered some business consulting questions here, some business cases, and we're going to be publishing that on Spotify actually. So yeah. Last question. How do I make Marvin Guermo's website generate 300K visitors a month? This question is from Marvin Guermo. Well, link from your YouTube videos. I suggest you link your website every once in a while and make sure that you have something there that will give them a lot of value. Like, for example, Marvin, I know, has his Excel files and how he cleans up his budget and how he invests as well on his stocks. If you've ever been to one of his Stock Smart seminars or workshops, you would know that he uses Excel sheets to organize stocks that he buys, he keeps, he sells. And that for me is amazing. That is something that I would like to take a look into, And so if he has that available for download on his website, I think a lot of people would go to his website and increase his visitors every month. and he can market that using his YouTube or Facebook page because he has a huge following on social media. So yeah, that's probably the strategy on how I'm gonna do it. I have a question on Facebook. Sonia Baria. Sonia, if you can ask the question here on Discord, that would be swell. And I'm going to be waiting for you here. Join us on Discord. The link is down there. It's actually moving a little bit slowly, but yeah, go to that link, ask the question here, and I'm going to be able to address it for you. Question from Charles. How did you get your first client for SEO Hacker? Did you need connections, and what was your strategy? I got my first client for it was scuba diving company, one of the biggest scuba diving companies here in the Philippines, Scuba World. How did I get them? They found me when they searched for the keyword SEO Philippines. So I think SEO Hacker was still we're still the first company website that ranks for the keyword SEO Philippines. And we are able to get a lot of clients using that keyword actually. And so they just find us using that keyword and they contact us. So that's SEO right there, right? It's SEO actually working for my company because we practice what we preach. We make sure that we rank very well for our keywords. And that actually helped me to land my first clients. Did I need connections? No. There's no connection between me and that client when we first met and got in touch and talked. No connections at all. So it was completely an SEO strategy that worked. We ranked for that keyword. We're still ranking really well for that keyword. I don't know. Are we ranking number one? I'm not sure. I think we're ranking number 1 or 2. That's it up to today. So you can check it out in your phone or in your laptops. And that gets me a perpetual number of leads, perpetual number of clients as well. Question from Pat. Any tips on how to start a gadget company with a small capital? I'm not sure what you mean by a gadget company. Can you qualify that? Is it like a Tamagotchi company or more like a mobile phone company? I'm not sure. But if it's anything hardware, you definitely need capital. If it's a product based company, you definitely need capital. If you're going to go the services route like I did, I used SEO services, then you wouldn't need capital or you wouldn't need a lot of capital. More like Kimstore. Okay. So yeah, Kimstore definitely had capital when she started because she had to stock up inventory. You cannot start a product company by using a lot of pre-orders. That's going to be difficult because you can't promise fulfillment on X day and time if you're doing 100% pre-orders. You have to have some stock on hand and you have to have some trust already, especially if you're going to be doing pre-orders, or you have to have some reviews that are working towards your favor if you're going to be going the pre-orders route so that you have capital from the pre-orders. Otherwise, if you don't have the reviews, you don't have the trust, the reputation, then you have to have capital and buy that stock on hand and then sell it outright. So that is it, guys. Those are all the questions tonight. We have been going on for just 40 minutes. Again, if you enjoyed the Q&A, please do join us on Spotify. The link is down here, or just look for Leadership Stack. The podcast is going to come up. We publish at least twice a week on Spotify. We're also on iTunes. If you are an Apple user and you prefer to do iTunes, we're also on Google Podcasts. We're pretty much everywhere. Just look for Leadership Stack on those podcast platforms and you will be able to find the podcast. I'm going to be pulling up a screen share for you on what the latest episode is, just like I do every week. So what do we have this week? This week, we have the one thing you shouldn't do when leading freelancers. So I think this is Q&A as well from a past leadership stack live. Yeah, so I answer the one thing you shouldn't do when leading freelancers. And we have how to turn failure into entrepreneurial growth. So this week we published 3 episodes, 21, 24, and 12 minutes each. Um, and yeah, so the first episode we published this week, how consistency transforms your business into a money making machine. So I think this one is an interview with Jacqueline. She is a magazine owner, so an online magazine owner, and I would say now it's an empire. And basically, the story of how she did it is super interesting. And if you have the time, it's just 21 minutes. The first episode is just 18 minutes. It is well worth tuning in. I learned a lot from this episode, and I hope you will as well. So again, Leadership Stack Live is every Thursday at 8 p.m. and you can join the questions. You can post your questions by joining the Discord community. That's the URL is from.sean.c/discord. Joining is completely free. We don't charge you anything for that, and I answer your questions even if it is business consulting questions already, which I usually charge a boatload of money for. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next week. God bless you.